got the big news today. Turkey Al-Sheikh, hopefully I said his name correctly, wants to make that Terence Crawford fight. How likely do you think it actually is, or are we getting excited
Well, I
for no
think
reason?
obviously we're in discussions at the moment for Terence's next fight, not us on behalf of Terence, but us on behalf of Israel Madrimov. And I'm not sure Terence Crawford beats Israel Madrimov. Up at 154 against a massive puncher. I mean, you talk about rehydrating and this kind of stuff. Madrimov is going to come in like a monster in that fight. And I rate Crawford as probably pound for pound number one. But I think it's very, very naive to start looking at other fights for Terence Crawford till he faces and comes through Israel Madrimov if that fight gets made. So if he does come through that fight, Terence Crawford against Jaron Ennis is probably one of the biggest fights in the sport. And His Excellency wants to make the best and biggest fights. And, we met with His Excellency on Friday with Jaron, and he told Jaron Ennis, I want to make you against Crawford. And Jaron Ennis, his answer was, oh, yes, please, I'm ready anytime you want. So he's got to defend his title first, and who knows what happens later this year.
Jaron is ridiculous.
Right.
But is he on that Terence Crawford level?
Without doubt.
He's an all-time great, though, man.
Without doubt. I couldn't give enough credit to Terence. One, I really like the guy. I think he's a great character. I think he's just a dog when it comes to work and hustle and grind. And I think he's technically incredible. If someone's going to beat him, it's got to be someone that's too big for him, Israel Madrimov, or it's got to be someone that can match him. And I believe Boots can match him. Now, don't get me wrong, I can't sit here and tell you, oh, Boots beats him easy. No one beats Terence Crawford easy. He's a like you said, he's a pound for pound all-time great. But many years ago, Terence Crawford came to the UK, to Scotland, and he beat Ricky Burns at 135. And he still owes me some money from the hotel bill. I think it's about $700 or $800. So I'm going to let him off. But eventually, we're going to find someone to beat him. It might be Israel Madrimov, it might be Boots Ennis, but you are right in what you say. Crawford is a pound for pound all-time great, and I hope he gets all the big fights that he craves.
Signing with Matchroom, that was gigantic for you guys, obviously. But some people in the boxing world looked at it like, okay, Eddie's definitely going to keep him active, but how is Eddie going to get him like those big time fights?
Well, I mean, you've just heard Turkey Al-Sheikh saying that he wants to make Terence Crawford against Boots Ennis. It's the biggest fight in the sport, one of, or certainly the biggest fight that Jaron Ennis could have. And there was no talk about that fight till we signed him.
Fair enough.
So, and also now you look at the champions at 47, guys like Stanionis, guys like Marios Barros, like they're accessible. You got to pay them, but they're accessible. And we got a good plan for Boots, and I know we'll deliver.
Have to kind of switch gears. Your man Canelo, he's fighting in about 2 weeks.
2 weeks only, yeah. It's come around so
weeks.
quick, yeah.
People that I talk to in business, they're just like, it's a pretty good fight. A lot of people saying it's a 50-50 fight because Canelo's quote-unquote slowing down. Munguia throws about 4 billion punches around. Do you kind of look at it as a 50-50
I don't
fight?
think it's a 50-50 fight, but I think it's a really good fight. Like, one thing that is a difference between this fight and certainly the Charlo fight is Munguia will go for it, right? He's got a great engine, like you said. He's got tremendous punch output. And as you start to get older, like Canelo, some point you're going to start breaking down in fights. I don't think that's coming, by the way, in 2 weeks. But the toughest fights are going to be against the toughest competitors. Now the problem with Munguia is he probably will get hit a lot. But if he can push the pace and stay consistent in the fight, who knows what could happen. But I like the fact that Canelo is fighting a young, hungry, aggressive fighter. And I think you'll see the best of Saul as well in that fight.
Gotta backtrack because actually earlier today in the morning I spoke to Teofimo Lopez Sr. and he was just like, that Devin Haney fight out the window, it's not happening, no time soon. Do you kind of look at it in that same view, or you think,
it depends if Teofimo wants to unify. Hopefully Teofimo, who is another great character for the sport, wants to unify the division. I think the fight to make, which in the division, is Teofimo Lopez against Subriel Matias. It's been discussed before. It's a tremendous fight. But let's see what happens in Matias against Paro on June 15. But, Devin Haney against Teofimo Lopez, it's a unification fight, 140. It's still a huge fight.
What do you have to kind of say to people that are just like a whole bunch of undefeated guys are out there and they're starting to like take their losses a little bit, like a Devin Haney, like an Errol Spence? I mean, I'm assuming you look at it as a good thing, though.
Well, I do. You never want to get beat, but what do we want in boxing? Like, we've got to stop with the whole undefeated thing. Like, you're almost not fun. You know, if you're undefeated, you're either a pound for pound genius, or you're just not fighting the right opposition. So let's find out which one it is. Gotcha.
And have to obviously go to kind of go back to Madrimov. Do you think he's the best guy at 154 pounds right now?
I think he's massively under. I mean, look, he's had 11 fights, undefeated, one of the best amateurs of all time. Punches so hard. Not inexperienced as a pro, but you'd like him to have more fights as a professional. But he's also in the prime of his career, and he wants to chase greatness, and they think they can beat Terence Crawford. So hopefully we can get that fight made.
Last topic for you, probably the biggest fight on the calendar to me, Bivol, Beterbiev.
Great fight.
Somebody's going to the hospital after that fight, man. Not saying who you think would win, but...
I represent Bivol, so I'll tell you, Bivol. But, look, it's a pure 50-50 fight. Like, the way that Bivol dealt with Canelo was so impressive, but Beterbiev is a bigger guy, you know? So you have to be able to withstand the pressure with smart boxing. You have to be able to fight in occasions, which is very difficult against a huge puncher. But you have to be big enough and strong enough to box this guy for 12 rounds, keep him off, hurt him, move, fight him on the inside, you know what I mean? And it's very difficult because he's a wrecking ball. But if anyone can do it, it's Dimitri Bivol.
Well, you know who to come up next for your guy if he does win the fight, though. It would be Benavidez.
Great. It's a much easier fight than Beterbiev.
Easier, you mean stylistically?
Yes. And no, just be strength-wise. Like, I really rate Benavidez. I love him. I think he's a great fighter. He's not, you know, at 175, he's just not the same as Beterbiev.
So you would take Beterbiev over Benavidez before?
Yes.
And I'm assuming stoppage.
Beterbiev gets hit. Benavidez gets hit too much. Like, you can't fight with that style against Beterbiev.
Gotcha.
But it's a great fight, by the way. Benavidez against Beterbiev. But I fancy Bivol to win on June the 1st.
Gotcha. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
No worries. Cheers, mate.